Ladies and gentlemen, the subject of intimacy is one that touches the very core of human relationships. Yet, it's often misunderstood, mishandled, and rushed. Today, we'll explore a deeper understanding of how to approach this topic with grace, respect, and integrity. True intimacy begins far beyond physical touch or expression. It starts in the unseen realms of the heart and mind, where connection is cultivated. Imagine a seed planted in fertile soil. It cannot grow to its fullest potential without care, water, and sunlight. The same is true for intimacy. It must be nurtured with understanding, communication, and shared experiences, creating a foundation that is not only strong but also enduring. At its core, connection is the thread that binds two people together. It's built over time through countless moments, some small, others profound, that collectively weave a tapestry of trust and emotional resonance. Connection is not something you can force. It must arise naturally, nurtured by mutual interest, respect, and effort. Think about the last time you truly connected with someone. It likely involved more than just words. It included shared glances, unspoken understanding, and the feeling that this person truly saw you for who you are. That is the essence of intimacy in its earliest and purest form. To build this connection, you must first cultivate presence. Presence means being there fully and completely in every moment you share with her. In our modern world, distractions are everywhere: phones, work, social media, the constant buzz of daily life. But when you choose to set all of that aside and focus entirely on her, you send a powerful message. You're saying, right now, there's nothing more important to me than you. This act of presence is rare. And because of that, it is incredibly impactful. People crave to be seen and heard, to feel that their thoughts, emotions, and existence matter to someone. By being fully present, you give her that gift. True connection also requires active listening. Many people hear words, but few truly listen. Listening goes beyond the act of hearing. It involves understanding, absorbing, and responding in a way that shows you value what the other person has shared. When she speaks, don't just wait for your turn to talk. Instead, focus on her words, her tone, her expressions. Notice what she says and what she leaves unsaid. Often the most significant parts of communication are found between the lines, in the pauses, or in the subtle shifts of her body language. Ask thoughtful questions that show genuine curiosity and a desire to know her on a deeper level. This kind of listening is an art, and mastering it creates a sense of closeness that words alone cannot achieve. Another critical component of building a connection is empathy, the ability to understand and share her feelings. Empathy doesn't mean you must have experienced exactly what she has, but it does mean putting yourself in her shoes, imagining her perspective, and validating her emotions. If she shares something difficult or vulnerable, resist the urge to solve a problem or dismiss her feelings. Instead, acknowledge them. Say things like, "I can see why you feel that way," or "that must have been really challenging for you." When you respond with empathy, you create a safe emotional space where she feels comfortable opening up further. And the more she opens up, the deeper your connection grows. Building connection also involves vulnerability on your part. Many people mistakenly believe that intimacy requires strength alone, but the truth is, it requires balance, strength, and vulnerability in harmony. When you allow yourself to be open, to share your fears, your dreams, and even your flaws, you invite her to do the same. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's an invitation to authenticity. It says, "I trust you enough to show you my true self," and that level of trust is contagious. When she sees your willingness to be real, she'll feel more inclined to let down her own walls and meet you on a deeper level. Shared experiences are another powerful way to build connection. They create memories, inside jokes, and a sense of us that strengthens the bond between you. These don't have to be grand or expensive gestures. Sometimes the simplest moments, watching a sunset together, cooking a meal, or taking a quiet walk, can be the most meaningful. It's not about what you're doing, it's about how you're doing it. When you approach shared experiences with genuine enthusiasm and a spirit of togetherness, you create the kind of memories that linger in the heart long after the moment has passed. And then there's trust, the cornerstone of any meaningful connection. Trust is not given freely, it is earned through consistent actions over time. Trust is built when you keep your word, show reliability, and demonstrate care for her well-being. Small actions like showing up when you say you will, or remembering the little details she shares, go a long way in establishing this foundation. Trust creates a sense of security, and without it, true intimacy cannot exist. Connection requires patience. In a world that often prioritizes instant gratification, building a meaningful connection can feel slow. But the depth and richness it brings to a relationship make it worth the effort. By taking the time to truly connect, you lay the groundwork for intimacy that is not only physical, but also emotional, mental, and even spiritual. Each moment of understanding, each act of kindness, each shared laugh or meaningful conversation becomes a brick in the foundation of something much larger, a bond that can weather challenges and grow stronger with time. Respect is the cornerstone of any meaningful relationship. Without it, no connection, no matter how seemingly strong, can endure. When it comes to asking a woman for intimacy, respect becomes even more crucial. It's not merely about acknowledging her as an individual. It's about deeply understanding her autonomy, her feelings, and her boundaries. Respect is not passive, it is an active choice, demonstrated through words, actions, and attitudes. It requires consistent effort, patience, and the ability to put someone else's needs and emotions on par with, if not ahead of, your own desires. Boundaries are a natural and healthy part of any relationship. They define where one person ends and another begins. A boundary is not a wall meant to push you away. Rather, it is a guideline that communicates comfort, safety, and emotional space. When you honor a woman's boundaries, you show her that her feelings and limits matter to you. You convey that you see her not just as someone to fulfill your desires, but as a person with her own agency and voice. This recognition of her individuality creates a foundation of trust and mutual respect. To truly respect her boundaries, you must first understand what they are. This requires paying attention, asking questions, and observing how she responds in various situations. Boundaries can be explicit, such as when she clearly communicates what she is or isn't comfortable with. They can also be implicit, expressed through body language, tone of voice, or the choices she makes. For example, if she withdraws slightly or changes the subject when a topic gets too personal, that is her setting a boundary. It's your responsibility to notice and honor these signals. Ignoring them or pushing past them sends a message that you prioritize your needs over her comfort, which can erode trust and create distance. One of the most powerful ways to respect boundaries is through clear and open communication. Respect does not require you to guess or assume. It encourages you to seek clarity. If you're unsure about something, ask her. Asking isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of maturity and consideration. For example, if you're unsure whether she's ready to discuss a certain topic or take a step in your relationship, saying something like, "How do you feel about this?" Or, "Is this something you're comfortable talking about?" can go a long way. These questions show her that you value her input and are willing to proceed at her pace. Respecting boundaries also means being patient. Intimacy is a journey, not a race, and each person moves at their own pace. There may be times when you feel ready to progress in your relationship, but she may not. Instead of viewing this as a rejection, see it as an opportunity to deepen your understanding of her. Patience demonstrates that you care about her well-being and are willing to invest the time it takes to build something meaningful. It tells her that you're not just interested in the destination, but also in the process of growing closer in a way that feels right for both of you. Respect is also about self-awareness. You need to examine your own intentions and behaviors. Are you approaching the relationship with genuine care and interest, or are you driven by personal gratification? When you approach someone with respect, your actions align with their comfort and readiness, not just your own desires. This level of self-awareness helps you avoid behaviors that may unintentionally overstep her boundaries or make her feel uncomfortable. Another critical aspect of respect is accepting her no without resistance, defensiveness, or attempts to change her mind. A no is not a challenge, it's a statement of her boundaries. When she says no, she's not rejecting you as a person, she's expressing her current limits. How you respond to her boundaries speaks volumes about your character. If you can accept her decisions gracefully and without argument, you show her that you respect her autonomy and value her feelings above your own ego. On the other hand, if you push back or try to negotiate her boundaries, you risk damaging the trust that forms the foundation of your relationship. Respecting her boundaries also extends to respecting her emotions. Every person brings their own history, experiences, and feelings into a relationship. Some boundaries may be influenced by past experiences or personal values. These factors may not always be immediately apparent to you, but they are deeply important to her. When you respect her boundaries, you show her that you acknowledge and honor her individuality, even if you don't fully understand the reasons behind her choices. Respect isn't just something you offer when it's easy or convenient. It's something you maintain consistently, even in moments of frustration or misunderstanding. There may be times when her boundaries don't align with your expectations, but that doesn't diminish their importance. In fact, respecting her boundaries during challenging moments is when your commitment to respect truly shines. It's easy to be respectful when things are going smoothly. The real test is maintaining that respect when faced with disappointment or a difference in perspective. Respect also requires an understanding of equality in the relationship. Neither person's needs or desires should outweigh the other's. Intimacy at its core is a partnership, and partnerships thrive on mutual respect and understanding. When you approach her with this mindset, you create an environment where she feels valued, heard, and respected. Lastly, respect is an ongoing process. It's not something you demonstrate once and then assume is established. Relationships evolve, and so do people's feelings and boundaries. What she feels comfortable with today may change over time, and it's your responsibility to stay attuned to her and adapt accordingly. By consistently showing respect, you cultivate a relationship where intimacy can grow naturally and sustainably. Consent is a cornerstone of every meaningful and respectful relationship, a principle that elevates intimacy to a place of trust and mutual understanding. It is more than a mere agreement. It is an ongoing dialogue, a mutual exchange of comfort, willingness, and shared decision-making. Asking for consent is not just a single act, but a dynamic process that unfolds throughout the relationship, demonstrating care and respect for the other person's boundaries, desires, and emotions. When seeking intimacy, consent must always be approached as an invitation, not a demand. This distinction is crucial because an invitation inherently allows for the freedom to accept or decline without fear of judgment or coercion. Coercion, even subtle, undermines the very essence of consent, transforming what should be an act of shared connection into something one-sided and superficial. Consent is not just about gaining permission. It is about creating a space where both individuals feel safe, valued, and empowered to express themselves honestly. To foster this environment, communication becomes the bridge that ensures clarity and understanding. Clear, open, and respectful communication is essential in seeking and maintaining consent. It involves not only verbal affirmation, but also attentiveness to non-verbal cues. A person's body language, tone, and expressions can often communicate comfort or discomfort even before words are spoken. If you notice hesitation, withdrawal, or unease, these are important signals that should be acknowledged and respected. Ignoring such cues can create discomfort and strain trust, undermining the connection you've worked to build. Asking for consent also involves specificity. Broad, ambiguous questions like, "Are you okay with this?" may leave room for misinterpretation. Instead, it's more effective to ask clear, direct questions that invite honest responses. For example, saying, "Do you feel comfortable if we take this step?" Or, "How do you feel about doing this together?" demonstrates your consideration for her feelings and your willingness to proceed only if she is truly comfortable. The clarity in communication reassures her that her emotions and preferences are not just acknowledged but prioritized. It's important to recognize that consent is not a one-time agreement. It is a continuous process. Just because someone consents to one step does not mean they have automatically agreed to everything that follows. Consent must be renewed and reaffirmed as the relationship progresses. This requires attentiveness and sensitivity to how the other person feels in the moment. Asking for consent at every stage not only ensures that both individuals are on the same page, but also reinforces a foundation of mutual trust and respect. Patience plays a key role in the process of seeking consent. Intimacy is deeply personal, and everyone has their own timeline for when they feel ready to take certain steps. Rushing or pressuring someone, even unintentionally, can lead to discomfort or resistance. When you demonstrate patience, you show her that you value her feelings over your own immediate desires. This patience helps build a sense of security, which is essential for creating a truly intimate connection. Consent is also deeply tied to the idea of choice. When you seek consent, You are affirming the other person's right to make decisions about their body and their emotions. This is a profound act of respect, acknowledging her autonomy and her ability to choose what feels right for her. It also empowers her to voice her thoughts and preferences without fear of judgment. This empowerment strengthens the bond between you, fostering a relationship built on mutual understanding and equality. Listening is another critical aspect of seeking consent. It's not enough to ask a question, you must actively listen to the response and be prepared to honor it fully. Listening involves more than just hearing the words spoken. It requires understanding the underlying emotions and being willing to adapt based on what she communicates. If she says she's not ready or feels unsure, it's essential to accept that without trying to change her mind. A genuine relationship thrives on respect, not persuasion. Seeking consent also requires a willingness to handle rejection gracefully. Rejection is not a personal attack, it is simply an expression of where the other person stands in the moment. When you respond to rejection with understanding and composure, you demonstrate emotional maturity and a deep respect for her boundaries. This response reassures her that her feelings are valued and that she can trust you to respect her decisions in the future. It's equally important to acknowledge that consent can be revoked at any time. Just because someone agrees to something initially doesn't mean they are obligated to continue if they change their mind. This flexibility is a vital aspect of consent, and respecting it is non-negotiable. If she expresses a desire to stop or changes her mind about something, it's essential to immediately honor that decision without question or resistance. Finally, seeking consent fosters a deeper emotional connection. When a woman feels that her boundaries, feelings, and choices are genuinely respected, she is more likely to feel safe and valued in the relationship. This sense of safety is the foundation upon which true intimacy is built. Seeking consent is not just about avoiding harm or misunderstanding, it's about creating an environment where both partners can connect authentically and wholeheartedly. It turns intimacy into an act of shared trust and respect, allowing the relationship to flourish in a way that is meaningful and sustainable. Understanding a woman's emotions is a journey that requires patience, attentiveness, and empathy. Emotions are the foundation of intimacy, and acknowledging their depth allows you to build a meaningful connection that transcends the surface. To ask a woman for intimacy, it is essential to recognize that her emotions are not just reactions to circumstances, but deeply rooted reflections of her experiences, values, and inner world. Emotions are layered and multifaceted, and understanding them requires you to genuinely invest your time and energy into unraveling their nuances. One of the most critical aspects of understanding emotions is active listening. Listening is more than just hearing the words she says. It involves fully immersing yourself in the moment, paying attention to her tone, body language, and the unspoken cues that accompany her words. When she speaks about her feelings, she is inviting you into a vulnerable space, and your role is to create an environment where she feels safe to express herself freely. This means setting aside distractions, maintaining eye contact, and showing her through your responses that you are genuinely engaged. Simple affirmations like "I hear you" or "that makes sense" can go a long way in making her feel understood. Empathy plays a pivotal role in understanding a woman's emotions. Empathy is not about solving her problems or offering solutions. It's about stepping into her world and trying to see things from her perspective. It's about recognizing that her feelings are valid, even if you don't fully understand them. For instance, if she expresses discomfort or hesitation about something, rather than trying to reason with her or change her mind, empathize with her feelings by saying, "I can see why you'd feel that way." "Oh, that sounds really important to you." These responses show her that you are prioritizing her emotional experience over your own opinions or desires. To truly understand her emotions, you must also develop the ability to be patient. Emotions are not always easy to articulate, especially when they are tied to complex experiences or past events. She may need time to process how she feels and find the words to express herself. Your patience communicates that you are willing to wait and listen without rushing her or demanding immediate clarity. This patience demonstrates your respect for her emotional process and creates a sense of trust that encourages her to open up further. Another critical component of understanding a woman's emotions is recognizing the impact of context. Emotions don't exist in isolation. They are shaped by past experiences, cultural influences, and the dynamics of your relationship. For example, if she seems hesitant to discuss certain topics or take specific steps in the relationship, it's important to consider what might be influencing her feelings. Perhaps she has faced similar situations before that left her feeling vulnerable or hurt. Acknowledging these possibilities allows you to approach her emotions with greater sensitivity and understanding. It's also essential to avoid making assumptions about her emotions. While you may think you understand how she feels based on her words or actions, it's crucial to ask clarifying questions to ensure you are on the same page. For instance, if she seems upset, instead of assuming why, you could ask, "You seem a little quiet. Would you like to talk about how you're feeling?" This shows her that you are interested in understanding her perspective, rather than jumping to conclusions. Understanding a woman's emotions also requires self-awareness. Your own emotions and reactions can influence how you interpret and respond to her feelings. For example, if she expresses frustration or sadness, you may feel defensive or uncomfortable. It's essential to recognize these reactions within yourself and separate them from her experience. By doing so, you can respond to her emotions with empathy and support rather than allowing your feelings to cloud the interaction. Nonverbal communication is another powerful tool for understanding emotions. Often what she doesn't say is just as important as what she does. Pay attention to her facial expressions, gestures, and posture. If she appears tense or withdrawn, it may indicate that she is feeling uneasy or overwhelmed. Similarly, if her tone of voice shifts or she avoids eye contact, these could be signs that something deeper is at play. Being attuned to these nonverbal cues allows you to respond in a way that acknowledges her emotional state and encourages her to share more openly. Creating a safe emotional space is vital for fostering understanding. This involves being non-judgmental and offering her unconditional support. If she feels criticized or dismissed, she is less likely to share her feelings with you. Instead, focus on validating her emotions by affirming that it's okay for her to feel the way she does. Phrases like "your feelings are completely valid" or "I appreciate you sharing this with me" reinforce her sense of safety and encourage deeper emotional connection. Understanding her emotions also means being consistent in your actions and words. Consistency builds trust and reassures her that you are reliable and dependable. When you consistently demonstrate that you care about her feelings and prioritize her emotional well-being, she will feel more comfortable sharing her thoughts and opening up to you. This consistency creates a foundation for intimacy that is rooted in mutual respect and understanding. Finally, understanding her emotions requires humility and a willingness to learn. No one is perfect at navigating the complexities of someone else's feelings, and there will be times when you misunderstand or make mistakes. What matters is your willingness to listen, apologize, and grow from those experiences. By showing her that you are committed to understanding her emotions and adapting your approach as needed, you strengthen the bond between you and create a relationship where intimacy can flourish naturally. Timing plays a crucial role in every aspect of life, and when it comes to building intimacy with a woman, understanding the importance of timing is paramount. Intimacy is not a decision that can be forced or hurried. It is a natural progression that unfolds when both individuals feel comfortable, connected, and ready. Rushing this process can lead to discomfort, misunderstandings, and even damage to the relationship. Instead, recognizing and respecting the right time to approach intimacy ensures that the experience is meaningful, mutually desired, and rooted in genuine connection. Timing is not merely about finding the perfect moment. It is about recognizing when she feels safe, valued, and emotionally prepared to deepen the relationship. This requires attentiveness and sensitivity to her feelings, as well as a deep understanding of her pace and comfort levels. Everyone moves through the stages of emotional and physical connection at their own rhythm, and trying to impose your own timeline can create unnecessary tension or pressure. Instead, you must align yourself with her emotional flow, respecting the signals she gives you about when she is ready to take the next step. One of the first aspects of understanding timing is learning to read the cues she provides, both verbal and nonverbal. Verbal cues may include her expressing her thoughts and feelings about the relationship or discussing her comfort level with various aspects of intimacy. These conversations can provide direct insight into where she stands emotionally and whether she feels ready to progress. Nonverbal cues such as body language, eye contact, and the way she interacts with you physically are equally important. For example, if she leans into you, maintains prolonged eye contact, or initiates touch, these may be signs that she feels safe and open to closer connection. Conversely, if she seems withdrawn, avoids physical closeness, or hesitates when intimacy is discussed, it's a clear indication that she needs more time. Another key element of timing is building a foundation of trust. Trust is not something that happens overnight. It is cultivated through consistent actions, open communication, and a genuine effort to understand and support her. When trust is firmly established, it creates a safe space where she feels comfortable being vulnerable with you. This safety is essential for intimacy to thrive. Rushing into physical or emotional closeness without first building this foundation can make her feel uncertain or even resistant. Instead, take the time to demonstrate that you are reliable, understanding, and invested in her well-being. Small gestures such as listening attentively, keeping your promises, and respecting her boundaries go a long way in fostering trust and ensuring that she feels ready when the time comes. Patience is an integral part of understanding timing. While it may be tempting to push for intimacy when you feel ready, it's important to prioritize her readiness over your own desires. This requires putting her feelings at the forefront and being willing to wait until she feels confident and comfortable. Patience shows her that you value her as a person and are not simply focused on your own needs. It also helps to reduce any pressure she might feel, allowing her to open up and connect with you at her own pace. Timing also involves being aware of external factors that may influence her emotional state. Stress, personal challenges, or unresolved issues from past experiences can all impact her readiness for intimacy. For example, if she is dealing with a demanding work schedule, family issues, or lingering insecurities, she may not be in the right mindset to deepen the relationship. Being sensitive to these external pressures and offering her support without expectations demonstrates your understanding and reinforces the trust between you. It's important to remember that intimacy is not just about the moment, it's about creating an environment where she feels supported and understood no matter what is happening in her life. Communication plays a critical role in determining the right timing. Open, honest conversations about your feelings, intentions, and expectations help to ensure that both of you are on the same page. These discussions should be approached with care and sensitivity, focusing on how she feels rather than solely expressing your own desires. Asking questions like, how do you feel about where we are in the relationship? Or is there anything you'd like to talk about when it comes to us, can encourage her to share her thoughts and provide valuable insight into her readiness for intimacy. By prioritizing her perspective, you demonstrate your respect for her emotions and your willingness to move at a pace that feels right for both of you. Being present and attentive is another essential aspect of timing. The right moment for intimacy often arises naturally when both individuals are fully engaged and connected in the present. This means setting aside distractions, being mindful of her needs, and focusing entirely on the connection you share. When you are attuned to her feelings and fully present in your interactions, you are more likely to recognize the subtle signals that indicate she is ready to deepen the bond. This presence also reassures her that your intentions are genuine and that you are not simply looking for a fleeting or superficial connection. Understanding timing also involves being flexible and adaptable. There may be moments when you feel the time is right, but she may not feel the same way. In these situations, it's important to respect her perspective and adjust your approach accordingly. Flexibility shows her that you are willing to prioritize her comfort and well-being over your own desires, which reinforces the trust and emotional safety that are essential for intimacy. Finally, timing is about creating a balance between anticipation and readiness. Building intimacy should feel like a natural progression rather than a sudden leap. By focusing on shared experiences, mutual understanding, and emotional connection, you create an atmosphere where intimacy feels like a natural extension of the relationship. This gradual approach allows both of you to feel fully prepared and confident when the moment arrives, ensuring that the experience is meaningful and fulfilling for both of you. Respecting boundaries is the cornerstone of any healthy and meaningful relationship. When it comes to asking a woman for intimacy, understanding and honoring her boundaries is not just an option, it's a necessity. Boundaries are the lines she draws to protect her emotional, physical, and mental well-being, and respecting them demonstrates your consideration for her autonomy and individuality. Ignoring or crossing these boundaries can erode trust and create an environment of discomfort or apprehension, which is counterproductive to building intimacy. Boundaries are highly personal and vary from individual to individual. What one person might feel comfortable with could be entirely different from what another prefers. To navigate this, you must develop a keen sense of awareness and sensitivity to her unique preferences and comfort zones. This starts with creating an open line of communication where she feels safe to express her boundaries without fear of judgment or rejection. Asking questions like, what makes you feel most comfortable in our relationship? Or is there anything you'd like me to know about your preferences? Opens the door for her to share openly and establishes a foundation of mutual respect. It's crucial to recognize that boundaries can exist in multiple forms: emotional, physical, and even situational. Emotional boundaries, for example, might include her need for space during stressful times or her preference to discuss certain topics only when she feels ready. Physical boundaries, on the other hand, might involve her comfort level with touch or the pace at which she wants to explore physical intimacy. Situational boundaries could relate to specific settings or contexts where she feels more at ease opening up or connecting with you. Understanding these distinctions allows you to approach the relationship with a nuanced perspective that respects her individuality. Respecting boundaries also means being attuned to nonverbal communication. Often people express discomfort or hesitation through subtle cues rather than explicit statements. For example, if she withdraws physically, avoids eye contact, or seems tense, these could be signs that she is not comfortable with the current level of interaction. Paying close attention to these cues and adjusting your behavior accordingly shows her that you are not only observant but also deeply considerate of her feelings. This attentiveness reinforces her trust in you and lays the groundwork for deeper emotional and physical connection. One of the most important aspects of respecting boundaries is acknowledging that they are not static. Boundaries can evolve over time as trust deepens and the relationship progresses. What she might feel hesitant about today could change as she becomes more comfortable with you. However, this does not mean you should push or pressure her to move her boundaries sooner than she is ready. Instead, focus on creating a supportive environment where she feels in control of her decisions. When she feels that her boundaries are consistently respected, she is more likely to feel secure in exploring deeper levels of intimacy with you. Boundaries also require a sense of patience and self-discipline. There may be moments when your desires or intentions do not align with the current comfort level. In these situations, it's essential to prioritize her feelings over your own impulses. This patience not only shows her that you value her autonomy, but also reinforces your commitment to building a relationship based on mutual respect and understanding. It's important to remember that intimacy is not a race, it is a journey that unfolds naturally when both individuals feel secure and ready. Another vital aspect of respecting boundaries is avoiding assumptions. Assuming that you understand her boundaries without explicit communication can lead to misunderstandings or unintentional overstepping. Even if you feel confident about your interpretation of her comfort level, it's always better to ask for clarity. Questions like, how do you feel about this, or would you be okay with this? Provide her with the opportunity to express herself directly and ensure that you are aligned with her preferences. This proactive approach demonstrates your respect for her boundaries and your willingness to prioritize her comfort. Respecting boundaries also involves accepting her decisions without resistance or argument. If she sets a boundary that conflicts with your desires, it's important to honor it without trying to negotiate or persuade her to change her mind. Pressuring her to adjust her boundaries undermines her autonomy and can create feelings of resentment or mistrust. Instead, acknowledge her decisions with understanding and support, even if they differ from what you hope for. This acceptance reinforces her sense of safety and encourages her to maintain open communication with you. It's also essential to recognize that respecting boundaries is a two-way street. Just as you respect her boundaries, you should also be mindful of setting and communicating your own. Sharing your own preferences and limitations helps create a balanced dynamic where both individuals feel equally valued and respected. This mutual exchange fosters a sense of equality and partnership, which is fundamental to any healthy relationship. Creating an environment of respect for boundaries requires consistency in your actions. It's not enough to respect her boundaries occasionally or only when it's convenient for you. Consistently demonstrating your commitment to honoring her limits shows her that you are dependable and trustworthy. Over time, this consistency builds a strong foundation of trust that supports the development of deeper intimacy. Finally, respecting boundaries requires a mindset of empathy and understanding. Boundaries are not meant to exclude or reject. They are a way for her to communicate her needs and protect her emotional well-being. By viewing her boundaries as an expression of her individuality rather than a barrier to intimacy, you can approach the relationship with a spirit of compassion and appreciation. This perspective allows you to build a connection that is rooted in genuine respect and mutual understanding. Effective communication is the lifeblood of any meaningful relationship, especially when discussing sensitive topics like intimacy. The way you communicate can make the difference between building trust and creating discomfort. It's not just about the words you use, but the tone, timing, and the space you create for her to share her thoughts and feelings openly. When it comes to asking a woman for intimacy, your approach to communication must prioritize understanding, empathy, and respect. Open and honest communication begins with setting the right tone. A warm, calm, and sincere approach can make her feel at ease, signaling that the conversation is coming from a place of care rather than pressure or entitlement. Rushed or overly casual discussions about intimacy can come across as dismissive of the depth and significance of the topic. Instead, focus on creating an environment where she feels safe to express her thoughts, concerns, and boundaries without fear of being judged or misunderstood. Start by using language that conveys respect and attentiveness, such as "I value how you feel about this," or "Your comfort and happiness mean a lot to me." The timing of the conversation is equally important. Conversations about intimacy should not occur in moments of stress, distraction, or emotional vulnerability. For example, trying to discuss this topic when she's preoccupied with work, upset about an unrelated issue, or exhausted after a long day is likely to backfire. Choose a moment when you're both relaxed and fully present, and when the environment is conducive to open and meaningful dialogue. This might mean having the conversation during a quiet evening at home or after a shared activity that has already brought you closer together. Active listening is a cornerstone of effective communication, especially when discussing something as personal as intimacy. This means giving her your full attention, not interrupting, and truly hearing what she has to say rather than focusing on how to respond. If she shares her feelings, concerns, or boundaries, acknowledge them thoughtfully and validate her perspective. Phrases like "I understand what you're saying" or "I appreciate you sharing this with me" demonstrate that you're not only listening but also valuing her input. Active listening also involves observing nonverbal cues such as body language and facial expressions, which can provide deeper insight into how she's feeling about the conversation. Empathy is another critical aspect of communication. Intimacy can be a vulnerable topic, and she may have past experiences, insecurities, or emotional factors that influence her comfort level. By approaching the conversation with empathy, you demonstrate your willingness to understand her perspective and support her journey. Instead of focusing solely on your own desires, try to see the situation through her eyes. For instance, if she expresses hesitation, don't respond with frustration or impatience. Instead, say something like, "I understand that this might be something you need more time to think about, and that's completely okay." Clarity is essential when discussing intimacy. Vague or indirect language can lead to misunderstandings and uncertainty, which might make her feel uneasy. At the same time, being overly blunt can come across as insensitive or aggressive. Strive for a balance between being clear and considerate. For example, instead of saying, "I think we should be more intimate," you might say, "I feel that we've been growing closer, and I'd like to talk about how we both feel about taking the next step in our relationship." This approach invites her to share her perspective while expressing your feelings in a respectful and non-demanding way. Creating a space for mutual dialogue is crucial. The conversation should not feel like a one-sided request or an ultimatum. Instead, it should be a collaborative exchange where both of you feel equally heard and understood. Encourage her to share her feelings, thoughts, and concerns by asking open-ended questions like, "How do you feel about where we are in our relationship?" Or, "Is there anything you'd like to share about how you view intimacy?" These questions show that you're genuinely interested in her perspective and not just seeking a specific outcome. Nonverbal communication also plays a significant role in these discussions. Your body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice can convey just as much, if not more, than your words. Maintain open and approachable body language, such as facing her directly, making gentle eye contact, and avoiding defensive gestures like crossing your arms. Soft, calm tone of voice can help set a reassuring mood, making her feel safe and valued throughout the conversation. Pay attention to her nonverbal responses as well, as they can provide important clues about her comfort level and readiness to engage in the discussion. Patience is another essential element of effective communication about intimacy. These conversations often require time and multiple discussions before both parties feel completely aligned. If she needs time to process her thoughts or emotions, give her the space to do so without pressing for immediate answers or decisions. Rushing her can create unnecessary pressure and may make her feel that her feelings are not being fully considered. Instead, let her know that you're willing to move at a pace that feels right for her, which reinforces her trust in you. Lastly, humility is key. Acknowledge that you may not have all the answers or fully understand her perspective right away. Be open to learning from her and adapting your approach based on her feedback. If she points out something you said or did that made her uncomfortable, take responsibility and strive to do better moving forward. This willingness to grow and improve demonstrates your commitment to building a relationship that prioritizes her well-being and happiness. When you approach communication about intimacy with sensitivity, respect, and a genuine desire to understand her, you create a foundation of trust and connection that paves the way for a deeper and more meaningful relationship. Patience is the essence of any meaningful relationship, particularly when it comes to nurturing emotional and physical intimacy. It is an attribute that conveys respect, understanding, and genuine care for the other person. In the context of asking a woman for intimacy, patience is not simply a virtue, it is a necessity. It allows you to approach the relationship with sensitivity, enabling her to feel secure and valued. Rushing intimacy can lead to misunderstandings, discomfort, or even a breakdown of trust. Instead, patience ensures that the bond you build is based on mutual respect and emotional readiness. Patience begins with the understanding that everyone has their own pace when it comes to developing intimacy. What might feel natural and timely for you may not align with her emotional state or personal experiences. Each individual brings their own background, values, and boundaries into a relationship, which shape how they approach intimacy. These factors might include past relationships, cultural influences, or personal insecurities. By exercising patience, you give her the space to navigate her emotions and develop trust in her own time, creating a foundation for deeper and more meaningful connection. Patience also involves recognizing that trust and intimacy are not instantaneous. These elements are built gradually through consistent actions that demonstrate care, reliability, and respect. Trying to expedite this process undermines its authenticity and can create unnecessary pressure. Instead of focusing on reaching a particular milestone, prioritize the journey itself. Celebrate the small steps of growth in your relationship, such as moments of vulnerability, shared laughter, or mutual understanding. These experiences lay the groundwork for a deeper connection and make the eventual expression of intimacy more meaningful. Part of patience is being present and attentive to her needs and emotions. This requires a willingness to set aside your own desires temporarily and focus on what makes her feel comfortable and valued. For example, if she expresses hesitation about moving the relationship to a more intimate level, your response should not be frustration or disappointment. Instead, let her know that you respect her feelings and are willing to wait until she feels ready. Statements like, "I care about you and want this to feel right for both of us," demonstrate that your intentions are rooted in genuine care rather than self-interest. Another critical aspect of patience is understanding that intimacy encompasses far more than physical connection. Emotional intimacy is equally, if not more, important in building a lasting relationship. This involves taking the time to get to know her deeply, her dreams, fears, values, and passions, engaging in meaningful conversations, sharing experiences, and supporting each other through challenges strengthen your emotional bond. As this bond deepens, physical intimacy becomes a natural and comfortable extension of the connection you've cultivated together. Patience also requires you to manage your expectations. It's natural to have desires and hopes within a relationship, but it's important to ensure that these don't turn into demands or ultimatums. Expectations that are too rigid can create unnecessary pressure and strain on the relationship. Instead, focus on creating an environment where she feels free to express herself without fear of judgment or disappointment. This openness fosters trust and allows the relationship to evolve organically rather than being driven by external pressures or timelines. One of the challenges of exercising patience is dealing with uncertainty. When you're unsure about how or when the relationship will progress to a more intimate level, it's easy to feel anxious or frustrated. However, it's essential to channel these emotions constructively. Instead of dwelling on what's uncertain, focus on what you can do to make her feel valued and supported. This might involve finding ways to strengthen your bond, such as planning thoughtful dates, showing appreciation for her efforts, or simply being present and attentive in her life. These actions not only demonstrate your commitment, but also help build the trust and security needed for intimacy to flourish. Patience is also about consistency. Demonstrating patience once or twice is not enough. It must be a consistent part of how you approach the relationship. This means showing understanding and support even in moments when you might feel discouraged or uncertain. Consistency reassures her that your intentions are genuine and that you're invested in the relationship for the long term. Over time, this steady approach builds a sense of safety and trust that paves the way for deeper intimacy. It's important to remember that patience is not passive. It requires active effort and self-awareness. It involves checking in with yourself regularly to ensure that your actions align with your values and intentions. Are you truly prioritizing her comfort and well-being, or are you subtly pressuring her to meet your expectations? Being honest with yourself about these questions helps you stay grounded and focused on building a relationship based on mutual respect. Finally, patience involves embracing the idea that intimacy is a journey, not a destination. It's not about achieving a specific goal, but about building a connection that feels fulfilling and meaningful for both of you. This perspective allows you to let go of unnecessary pressure and enjoy the process of getting to know each other on a deeper level. It reminds you that the most meaningful relationships are those where both individuals feel free to be themselves without fear or expectation. In conclusion, intimacy is not something to be taken or demanded. It's a gift offered freely when two hearts align. When you approach this topic with sincerity, respect, and patience, you create the kind of connection that transcends the physical. Remember, the goal is not just intimacy, but a bond that elevates both of you to a higher level of understanding and love. Thank you.